All right, Andy, you've been sent an invite to speak, and once you accept it,
Ah,
you have to there you go.
I see. I see. Okay, that wasn't too hard.
I don't understand why I invite you specifically in the direct messages if for some reason as soon as you come on, it's only as a speaker. Or, I mean, as a listener.
Yeah,
Just
that is
a
crazy.
just a crazy part of the whole thing. Andy
All right.
Stanton, are you close? Yeah, I'm going to go last names.
He's Standy and I'm Bandy.
I'm gonna have enough trouble as is. Uh, yeah, Steady, have you pressed the mic
he
is on
he's
button?
on. He's on.
Okay,
He's
it's
on
still
his own
listed
time.
as a. All right, I'm inviting Andy. You should get a notice saying that you are um, invited to be a speaker. You have to get away from the phone a bit to see it. And once you see that, just say, yes, I would like to be a speaker, and then enable your microphone.
Mhm.
He asked about a pre-run, and I should have went with it. That's just the nature
uh,
of things.
yes.
All right, he's still listed. Ah,
He's all right.
oh,
He's
we've moved
muted.
the needle.
We moved the needle. Now hit the mute button, Andy.
It says I'm now a speaker.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like I just did some evolution as a life form.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Wow. So
Hey,
and this is it.
it's
We no longer have to unmute, right?
this is great.
Yeah.
It's great to hear me. Hi, Matt. Nice
Um,
to meet you.
nice to meet you. I think I talked to you once before about 2 years ago, on a different app that Andy was just trying out and just said, "Hey, come
Oh,
on over."
oh my God,
Oh,
that's
in the
right.
party. Yeah, the spatial
Uh,
chat.
well,
Oh
it's
yeah,
that.
spatial.
So that's what we do when we meet, Matt. We just try out microphone technology. Well, I think I really enjoy our relationship. I've just realised.
Yeah, to the extent we have created one, I'm happy with it. We should go for more.
I'm delighted with it. I like that we hear each other.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and on Twitter Spaces, this is really a space to hear each other. Sorry, what is this show about? I was told it will be about feelings.
Oh no, not now.
Oh
All right,
goodness.
I'm gonna share Andy's again until we'll get going. So I can focus on everything. All right, let me read my little intro. I'll let you do. Hi, everybody. This is Matt from Communities. I'm here with the Andys of Tumbler Willy's podcast, which includes Andy Stanton of the Mr. Gum Children's series. He's won awards at this. I had to look up uh, the Red House Children's Book Award and the Blue Peter Book Awards. I had not heard of either of those, and I cannot pronounce the other one.
Yeah, apparently
So,
we name all children's book awards after colours here. Red House Book Award, Blue Peter. I must have won. I don't know what else I won. The Yellow Snow Award, presumably.
could be. And our other Andy here is Andy Bobrow, who is not only a writer community, but he is the patron saint of the communicons that we have. Uh, if as long as he says that's true, it's true.
Yes.
Um, and thank
As
you
long
both.
as yes.
Yeah, thank you both for being here and doing this. This has always been fun for me.
What?
We have no idea what we're in for, so it's great.
Well, because we are primarily about community and the people associated with it. Let me start by asking Barbara a quick question. What's your like funniest behind the scenes thing related to community that you can share? Because I'm sure it's stuff you can't share.
I'm trying to um I'm trying to think of something that I haven't talked about before. I know that I mentioned our group watch. Really, my introduction to the set life at Community was when were shooting the KFC episode, and that was my first time being on set. I was a new writer that season, and it was early in the season, and was it Joe Russo, I think, who was shooting,
It is the
or
Russo you
was
have was not Joe's,
it was
the other
Anthony?
one,
So it was
Anthony. Yeah.
Anthony, and he pulls me aside and he says, just so you know, the cast, they kind of like they kind of do their own thing. Sometimes they goof around, and you have to let them. And sure enough, Donald comes. Donald and Joel have this bit that they do. That's where Donald would come running onto the stage and say, "Guys, there's a bandit. There's a bandit running around." And Joel would go, "What?" And he would say, "Yeah, he's a penis thief." And Joel would say, what do we do? What do we do?" And Donald would say, "Quick, hide your penis in my mouth." And then they would not actually have oral sex. The bit would stop there, or maybe after some pantomimed fellatio. But it was like, oh my God, these guys.
God, did you ever want to give that bit to the characters? It's really fun.
I never really. No. I love the layers of it, though. I love that the person who wanted to perform the oral sex was the one who created the illusion that the urgency of it.
Yeah, it's very crafty. I know that's often how one goes about getting oral sex.
Yes.
In our country, if nowhere else.
Right, you typically do have to fool someone into hiding their penis in your mouth.
It's a sense of urgency that is paramount. And if you say that with enough urgency and authority, who knows?
Yeah, I've heard that bit before. It's always funny. I've heard that bit before, and I have heard Yvette not mention it, and that is just as funny as because Yvette's like, they used to do this thing. She goes, "It's super dirty, y'all. It's just super dirty." That's all she would ever say about it.
Oh God!
So
I've broken
this is it.
Great. So Yvette, definitely a much classier person than me, has the decency not to out them, and I'm just going right ahead and doing it.
You're listening to Twitter Spaces Too Hot for TV.
Yeah, I don't know how you would ever get that on at 7 p.m.
No, I don't
Central in the U.S.
I don't think you would.
That's not a thing. Stanton, did you ever watch Community?
I always like to isolate whatever Community fans are listening at this point by saying, like, I never really got into it because I was I think I was like, I don't need to watch it because I'm a friend of Bobrow's. That's even cooler than watching a show, is just like knowing the people who make the show. So every time I put my eyes on it, I really liked it, and then I kind of never actually did the homework and got into it. Whoops. So, like, I can see all these people just dropping off our feed now.
Leave now.
This is outrageous.
Yeah, absolutely. No excuse.
I'm really not doing well at ingratiating myself to your fan base. I apologize.
In fairness, I've never read a word Andy's written.
And why would you? Let me tell you, I read some of the stuff I wrote, and it stinks. Not good.
Yeah, because in the UK, the blue ribbon is the second place prize, right? Like the red ribbon is.
That's right.
So,
I mean,
so if you got a blue Peter award, there must have been someone who got a red Peter award.
Oh, they got a red Peter, all right. Let me tell you, and there was quite the sense of urgency when that was achieved. This is really the dirtiest interview I've ever been involved in.
Now, same.
Yeah. We're brothers now.
We've definitely crossed the line. I did want to ask about your podcast, and by the way, I've listened to both episodes. I have laughed a lot. But there's something you neither one of you have kind of put the nail or explained. Is this a comedy like Community, or is it a drama?
Is what a drama? Our podcast or the show we're talking about?
The show, yeah, Tumbler's Willy. I don't.
Right.
I can't tell what does it fit inside of, or what kind of do you have for it?
Well, it's a drama, and so I don't know why you're laughing. We're just talking about a show that we love very much, Matt.
Well, you tend to correct each other, and there's a humor in that, of course. But you're describing a.
Sorry. Can I just take a step back? You find it funny that people are passionate about things, huh?
the way you're describing it is very funny to me. It's it's
you. Listen to yourself, Matt. To you.
Clearly, we failed. If anyone is laughing at the Tumbler's Willy podcast, then we need to go back and adjust it because that's a massive failure.
This is laugh out loud serious.
Yeah, that's what we like to call it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So but the show itself is a drama.
Not just a drama. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Not just a drama.
The world's longest running television drama.
Right. This is Tumbler's Willy, which we talk about on the Tumbler's Willy podcast. I cannot say that name enough. Tumbler's Willy, Tumbler's Willy, Tumbler's Willy. And that's right. It started out as a radio show in 1902, which was way ahead of the curve because that was, 20 years before radio was invented, Andy?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Breaking rules right up from the get-go. Similar to Community in that way. Just really just sort of breaking the mold.
That was very subtly done. Yeah, if you like Community, you'll really love this show.
No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
No, that's all I had. So this is awkward.
Oh, okay. No. Now you've talked about it a lot because there's like well over 1,900 episodes. At least that's where Andy jumped in, and there's a lot of episodes that apparently just really haven't crossed the pond. But did any of them like go east? Like it didn't come to America. Did it go anywhere else, or is this just a UK thing?
Well, it's very hard to get statistics on whether it is known in any other countries because no one's thought to ask any of the other countries.
Yeah, and that's notoriously difficult to get other countries to talk about themselves.
Well, it would probably involve sending emails to people.
It would involve emails, and then yeah.
Like have another address. So
yeah, I guess you could just make up some likely sounding emails of people in other countries, but it's really hit and miss, and I don't think anyone's prepared to do that research at this point. Look, I should say Tumbler's Willy is an institution in the UK. We're weaned on it from birth, it feels like. Really.
Everyone. Really. How many people would you say in the UK know of Tumbler's Willy?
Oh, gosh.
70, 80%?
I would say probably double that, Andy. Probably double.
160, probably up near 160, I think. Yeah.
Maybe 160%, I think, of people would be familiar with it. Well, more than familiar with it. Absolutely ravenous for it, I'd say, over here would be the word.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just, that's what surprised me when we started working together on my I tell you what, my children's books haven't won any awards of any colour in the States, let me tell you that. Because we started working together, me and Andy here, on a TV show based on my books, and what surprised me, Andy, was that you'd heard of Tumblers in the first place. That's so rare for an American fellow to know such a thing.
Well, and as you know, we discussed this in our first episode, but I found the show completely by accident. I was on a plane. I was on a flight to Canada, and for some reason they had, because it's in the Commonwealth, their entertainment choices were very different, and I just started watching this thing, and it was just incomprehensible. And then I became completely obsessed with it.
Well, you would.
And then turns out the only way to watch it was on this plane. So I then just had to keep booking flights back and forth from LA to Toronto to see more Tumbler's Willy.
Yeah.
It was very expensive to get up to speed on it, but well worth it.
Yeah. Like that was like a very early example of sort of pay to play TV, really, that you kind of invented that in a way, it feels like.
Yeah. And the people at Customs in Toronto really didn't understand what I was up to. I mean, every time landing, 4 hours and then coming back 4 hours, 8 hours later, it was and I said, look, I'm obsessed with this TV show, and they said, do you have any other way to watch it? And I'm like, maybe. I don't know. It's on the plane.
Did they start to regard you as a suspicious individual, a person of interest, or were they just pleasantly baffled by your compulsion to fly this route?
Well, I'm not allowed in Canada, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I think that probably means that they found you pleasant, but they just didn't want. They didn't want to, have too much of a good thing, right?
Yeah, that's typically what happens with Canada. Because they're very reserved.
Right.
And when they see some happy-go-lucky American show up, they're like, we can only take this in small doses.
Right. So you'd say that's true of every Canadian. They're all essentially the exact same personality as one another.
I would say, yeah.
That's interesting to know. You're not okay. I wonder if there's anybody listening from Canada. If one person from Canada is listening right now, they're essentially all listening because they would all have the same reaction, right?
Yeah, and that's documented. And also, they have this telepathy up there.
Okay.
So when
I didn't.
if you
because
if you punch one Canadian, all the other Canadians will feel it.
Well, that's because they're closer to the magnetic north. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Right.
Okay.
And we should do a podcast on that. We should do a whole podcast exposing the strange facts about Canada, because it is a fascinating place.
We should call it Canada, land of mystery, maybe.
Canada, land of mystery. Yeah. Or Canada. Canada-do.
Yeah.
Canada-do, Canada-don't.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not is also.
I like that last one.
Well, let's ask one Canadian if they'd enjoy that, and based on that reaction, let's make our choice.
they'll all answer the question.
Essentially, this got weirder than I was expecting.
They speak with one voice very quickly.
They do. Also, because it's so cold up there, they sort of have to. That's a survival tactic.
I just assume they're all huddled together.
Yeah, they're all huddled together. They're very close.
Are you allowed to do this? Is this like when I'm in? I can make sort of fun chat about the French based where I am. Are you allowed to do this in Canada, or are you getting? Is it? I'm hoping it's a similar sort of relationship. Otherwise, you're in trouble. And I'm.
It is similar, but it's only funny to us. The Canadians really don't like it at all.
I think in that sense, it's very akin. Yeah. Almost exactly the same.
There was a moment, Matt, when Andy told me that he was dating a woman from Canada, and then I had to explain to him that there's a long-standing trope in the U.S. about the Canadian girlfriend, and that you see it in TV shows and movies, like typically about a nerdy kid who doesn't have a girlfriend but has to tell his friends that he does have a girlfriend. She's just in Canada, and that's why they haven't met her.
Yeah, so that's right, because I came and I did an apartment swap with someone in New York City a couple of years ago, and I went on the dating sites when I was there. Hey, what my wife doesn't know? No, I'm not married. I met up with this Canadian and then Andy told me that's a kind of trope. So if she's listening right now, hey, Jennifer, real person, I had a really good time with you.
All Canadians just heard that.
Yeah, I think I gave them all the feels.
Yeah, you gave them all the feels.
All right, you two are Tumbler heads, which is a term for the fans of Tumbler's Willy.
Yeah.
Is this a show? I'm sorry.
Sorry, tumbleheads.
Tumbleheads. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had Tumbler.
We split off from the Tumbler head. There are Tumbler heads, but we don't get along.
Yeah, there's a history there. Let's just leave it at that.
We don't want to go there now. But would you rank this show up with and this is probably an American way of saying it. Would you rank that up with shows like Blackadder and Call the Midwife?
Black what?
Blackadder.
Blackadder and Call the. I've never heard of either of those shows. They sound made up.
I think Blackadder was a 4-year show, had literally almost everybody I've ever seen from the UK and television in it.
No, I don't recall that. No, you sure that's not Australian or something? I've never heard of it. Are you yanking my chain?
I think it's literally about British military services in World War One.
No, it's not. It's not ringing any. It's not ringing any bells. And what's the other one? Phone the Midwife.
Call the Midwife.
Call the midwife. No. Again, no. I don't know. Those don't. Sorry, you're not playing games with me. Those are real shows. Okay.
Call the Midwife's a real show, over 10 seasons.
No. I guess I've just been too busy watching Tumblers to. Big apologies of Phone the Midwife and Black Snake or whatever.
Yeah. Andy's been watching a real show, so he doesn't have time for your made up bullshit.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for saying what my English reserve prohibits me from getting at.
Sometimes I have to be the heavy in this relationship.
Yeah, so you can just imagine what a formidable team we are if Andy's the heavy. we're terrifying.
Well, I got to tell you, I was looking for like a wiki page for Tumbler's Willy, and I can't find it. So this kind of sounds phony.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't say a lot to your Google skills, is my first thought.
Yeah. Are you using the right web? Are you still on the dark web? Because Tumblr's is on the light web.
So it's on the regular version. Not the...
It's on the regular. You might want to check. You know what? Clear your cache. That typically fixes it.
No,
clear the cache makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry about if you don't mind my saying it. It does seem a bit rich to, It seems like this is on you that you can't find this information.
Yeah, I mean,
well, maybe I just don't know what I'm missing.
No, you don't. You certainly don't. But hey, we shouldn't be too antagonistic. I mean, this is what the podcast is about. We're trying to bring the news of like the early Christians. Honestly, we're trying to spread the news of Tumbler.
It does. Yeah, I often think of myself as an early Christian. So, I mean, especially as I'm Jewish, so literally an early Christian.
You have that in common with them. Yeah,
and with you, I believe. So
yeah. And so now we've offended Canadians and all Christians.
I don't think we've offended anyone. I feel like we've just talked about things. As we see them using our feelings here on Earth.
Our Twitter feed. It shouldn't be called Twitter Spaces. It should be called Twitter Feelings, and I believe that was the original name for this.
I believe it was, and I've started a small campaign. Well, I've just written it down as we've talked about it right now. I intend to start a small campaign. I don't want it to grow any bigger, but to change the name of Twitter Spaces back to, although it never was called, Twitter Feelings.
Yeah. Get back to basics.
Yeah,
Back to Basics was another early name for it.
It was back to basics, right? Because their whole list of ideas of what to call that had grown so complex that they just said, all of our names are so complex, let's just call it Back to Basics. But then they said, well, no one else will know the list of things, so they'll say, why back to?
Yeah, why? Where are we going back from?
Yeah.
And then they have to publish the entire list.
That's right. Well, that was going to be their idea, and also it's nice because it utilizes what we call alliteration, because back to basic, and you say the two very quickly. There was a small campaign, I believe, at the time as well, when they were coming up with the name for Twitter Spaces, to call it Back Boo Basics, so it would be real
Back Boo Basics. Yeah.
Back Boo Basics.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah. I think they all got cold feet and jumped the other way, and now it's called Twitter Spaces. Nice one, guys.
Yeah, great compromise. You do anything by committee, and it comes out terrible like that.
It seems
we could have what we could have had. We could have had Back Boo Basics.
I wish. I'm going to start another small campaign to get that happening again as well.
Yeah.
I want Twitter Spaces to be known not as Twitter Spaces, but as Twitter Feelings, and also Back Boo Basics. Right? I want it to have two names, like Coca-Cola has two names, right? I want Twitter Back Boo Basics and Twitter Feelings to be both sides of the can, as it were.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I've never wanted anything as much as this, I can tell you.
Well.
I think we may have found our next. I know we came here to talk about Tumbler's Willy, but I think one of our other passions is this Twitter Spaces thing. It's not in a good way. I mean, we're kind of obsessed with getting it right.
Yeah, even when you just use what it's currently called as a name, and I'm not going to say it because it makes me ill, actually. But it just fills me with rancor.
Well, I did want to thank. I know we have like a time limit on this, and I just want to thank you both for coming on and hanging out and doing this. Can you give me a teaser for the next episode, the third episode?
We'll give you a lot.
my
Yes,
God.
yes. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up. The history of this show is phenomenal. Let's see. Next week we get into
the 50-year everything is next week.
Yeah.
That's a startling conceptual leap that the show took.
Right. It's a radio show at this point. We're in 1902 still, 1902 or 1903. And I don't want to spoil too much, but the show goes off the air in a spectacular way.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Well, I don't want to spoil too much, but it does. Well, the show does become all of human reality for the next 50 years. Did I spoil it? I spoiled it.
I think you did spoil it. Yeah.
But
as a sort of a piece of performance art, Tumbler's Willy then became everything that happened in everyone's life.
Yeah.
And people loved it.
I mean, Child's Play today, but quite ahead of its time.
Right. Shows do that all the time today, but Tumbler's was the first.
It was the first and the greatest, and then later on, it makes the transition to become a TV show. There's a point at which it gets rather sordidly embroiled in the history of the Beatles. It briefly becomes a science fiction. You'll have to listen to the whole podcast.
I'm
looking forward to it, guys.
In episode 2, you find out a surprising connection between Tumbler's Willy and The Who.
I did not expect to hear about Roger Daltrey's basement.
Yeah. Roger Daltrey, huge tumblehead, and
he
basically saved the show.
Yeah, I hope he's not listening, because he may not remember he saved the show, and his lawyers may have other ideas, but he did save the show.
He did absolutely save the show, and no one tell him that, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whatever you do not contact any members of the Who to ask them about their involvement in Tumbler's Willy. They don't like to talk about it.
They don't like to talk about it, and then they get lawyers involved. So let's try not to.
Just this once, everybody. Let's try not to contact the Who to ask them about their involvement with Tumbler's Willy.
Also, if you could, we should also reiterate or say, don't tell the BBC either.
Oh, yeah, shit, yeah. By the way, when they ask us about that, I've already thought that we can say that what we're saying is it's BBC, and we spell it different, but it just sounds like BBC. But
BBC,
Don't tell the BBC. They don't want to.
They don't.
At this point, everybody out there, maybe you shouldn't even listen to our show, because it does seem fraught with problems, I've now realized.
You maybe shouldn't. You maybe should give it a pass and wait for our next podcast about Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, there's plenty of other things to do out there, so you can find
great podcasts out there.
Or just take up a new hobby. Go for a walk. And leave your phones behind, people. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Stop being wedded to these clicky, flashy screen. Just do not listen to our show, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, we didn't make it for you.
Right. Thank you.
Well, thank you for spending time with me today. I'm looking forward to your next episode. I'm already a listener. I'm already a subscriber. So thank you, guys.
Well, thank you for making our first Twitter Backboo Basics feelings experience such a good one.
It was.
You're absolutely welcome.
Thank you so much, Matt. Also, we should do this again. I feel a little bit of obligation to anyone who signed on just to hear about community. We should do another Twitter space just about community at some point for those people.
Come back on the anniversary of Pillows and Blankets in April.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes.